The only 10 out of 10 designer fragrances you'll need for the rest of your life. That's a bold claim, I know. Obviously, this is all subjective and based on personal preferences, but if someone was to ask me to recommend them fragrances that would have them covered for every situation for the rest of their life, it'd be these. About a decade ago, I didn't own many fragrances. Kind of hard to think of a time when I didn't own many fragrances, but I think there was one once. It's all a little bit of a blur. I was actually at that stage in my life where I could afford to go out and buy a few fragrances, a little fragrance wardrobe. I had no clue what to go and buy, and I didn't trust my own nose to go into stores, because when you're not used to smelling stuff, then everything just starts to smell the same after a while, and it's difficult to make a decision, and the sales assistant ends up forcing the rubbish latest release of some Jimmy Choo fragrance on you. Yeah, that actually happened. So I thought I'd ask around a few friends for recommendations, and I did get a few good recommendations, but if there'd been a video like this, that would have been great, because I could have just watched it, got the recommendations, gone into the store, smelled them, and decided if I'd like them or not. The aim was simply to build a small, quite modest collection of fragrances. I've got 7 to talk to you about today, because I think when you're starting from pretty much nothing, maybe you got 1 or 2 fragrances, I think 7 is a good next step up. 10 maybe just seems a little too much, so I'm going with 7, because 7 I think has you nicely covered for everything. That's what I wanted, just a small collection of fragrances that would give me lots of variety and have me covered for lots of different situations. Yep, would have been great for me from 10 years ago to have had someone like me on YouTube, at least giving me a starting point of what to go in store and recommend. So if you're in that situation like I was 10 years ago, I thought I'd put this video together for you, give you some recommendations if you weren't quite sure where to start. This is not just a list of my favourite fragrances, although I guess all these are sort of my favourites, but what I've been mindful of is selecting fragrances that are appropriate for every season, lots of different situations, to have lots of variety, so that essentially you could just have this collection of fragrances and you'd never need any others. I've decided to start off fresh and then work all the way up to the darkest fragrances. So the one I'm starting with is a beautiful, quite new freshie from Giorgio Armani, Acqua di Gio EDP. This is an updated version of the classic Acqua di Gio EDT. Refreshing citrus and salty sea air accords combine to create a fresh, clean, sexy cologne. Good to have a freshie in your collection for those hot summer days or when you go away on holiday. The good thing about this one is, whilst it is fantastic in the warmer weather, it's fairly versatile, so you could actually get away with wearing this all year round. Although for me personally, this one does excel in the summer and the spring. I do actually just slightly prefer Acqua di Gio Profumo because it's a little bit more herbal, there's a little more complexity to it, and it's got the added depth of the incense, which I really love. The only thing is that I keep hearing this might be discontinued, that it's harder to get. I'm not sure what it's like in the States, but it's still very readily available here in the UK. If you get a chance to smell both of these, then try them both and see which one you prefer. As I said, this one is my preference, but if you're in a place where this is discontinued or you're struggling to get it, then I am definitely recommending this one. Either would do the job. They're both beautiful fragrances, but if you have the option to try both, then just try both and see which one you prefer. The EDP is a bit greener than the EDT and Profumo. This is longer lasting than the EDT, which is why it's my preference over that one, but not quite as long lasting as Profumo. Ideal for warm days, office work environments, pretty much anything really. Like I said, it's really versatile. Go Profumo if you can, or if you smell both and you prefer the EDP, they are both excellent and would be a great addition to any collection. We're staying fresh for the next one, but we're getting a little richer and a little heavier with Bleu de Chanel EDP. Fresh citrus, invigorating mint with deep woods and incense in the base. EDT and Parfum are also excellent, but for me, this is the overall best of the 3. It's the kind of modern, clean, sexy fragrance that you can't really go wrong with. It's fresh enough to be great in the summer, but versatile enough to wear all year round, really. It's not a very complicated fragrance, it's relatively simple, so people around you are going to enjoy this. About 99% of people, I would say, are gonna love this fragrance. Bleu de Chanel, I love. It was a companion for me on a trip around Europe. I was in hotels, hostels, bars, restaurants, planes, in the heat for quite a lot of the time. This just worked an absolute treat. Amazing quality and versatility. If you're building a collection, Bleu de Chanel should definitely be included. Another Chanel. I couldn't resist including this one because it is just so good and controversial. 2 Chanels, no Dior in this list. What am I doing? I'll explain why in a little bit, but I just had to include Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme. There's still a nice element of freshness with this because of the mint and the mandarin, but there's some pepper adding a playful punchiness, and then smooth, sweet tonka and woods in the base. Very lively, playful scent that has a youthful vibrancy to it, and it has a sweet, addictive nature that people are just going to love. This is one of the most versatile fragrances I own because I could just wear this for absolutely anything. My preference with this is just to wear this casually as a daytime scent. If you want a fragrance that is going to get you noticed, turn some heads, pull in a couple of compliments, then you should definitely check Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme out. I was in Edinburgh a few months ago with Corey from Killer Frags, and we were just walking down the street and he was wearing this fragrance because it's one of his favorites, and I was just doing everything I could to get in his sillage because I was loving smelling it off him. It's so different when you smell someone else wearing a fragrance to how it smells when you're wearing it yourself. It just reminded me how good this fragrance is. The only problem with my bottle is it's a little small and I don't think there's that much left in it. So next time I will seriously be considering upgrading to the bigger bottle. If you love fragrance as much as I do, head over to my online store luxparfum.co.uk. You'll find my favourite brands plus brands you can't find anywhere else in the UK. Link is in the description. Okay, I feel like I need to explain the lack of Dior on this list. That is because of this fragrance. Most of the Dior fragrances I love are built around this beautiful iris, but I'm not including those because I'm including this. Prada L'Homme. Creamy, powdery iris, crowd-pleasing cardamom, and smooth, sensual sandalwood make this one addictive scent. I was so tempted to put any of the Diors on the list. I adore Dior Homme Intense, Dior Homme Parfum, but ultimately Prada L'Homme is a little more versatile than those fragrances, and I think considering versatility is an important factor when you're building quite a small collection. I could have put Dior Homme on the list, but for me, Prada L'Homme just wins out ever so slightly over Dior Homme Original. 100% fantastic fragrance. It would work in the same situations as this, and it's not actually massively different. So the best thing to do is maybe go in store and try Dior Homme and Prada L'Homme, see which one you prefer. But I've worn this in all sorts of situations. I've worn it to the gym, I've worn it formally, I've worn it to restaurants, I've worn it on dates. I've worn it for everything, and I can honestly say it never disappoints. I just love wearing this fragrance. I love reaching for this one because it's just so easy to wear. It's pretty safe, so it works in so many different situations, but don't confuse those things for being boring because it certainly is far from being a boring fragrance. Prada L'Homme is, in my opinion, one of the best renditions of iris on the designer fragrance market. One of the best fragrances of modern times is Jean-Paul Gaultier's La Malle, but as much as I love it, it's the modernized, updated version that I'm recommending in this video, La Malle Le Parfum. You've got that iconic La Malle lavender, but a darker, thicker, richer vanilla adds more depth and attitude. Excellent release from Jean-Paul Gaultier. There's enough of the iconic smell of the original, but this is richer, more ambery, and that vanilla just seems to make it smell more on trend in 2023. I love to wear this most in autumn and winter because it does lean a little base heavy, which means it excels in the cooler temperatures. In terms of situations, this would excel as a sensual date night scent, a fun party or night out scent, or any situation where your primary aim is to impress. Could even be an everyday signature scent. You wouldn't go far wrong if this was the only fragrance you own, but to have this as part of your killer 10 out of 10 collection just makes sense. Getting even richer now with one of the best releases in recent years from Tom Ford is Ombre Leather. The quality and potency of this scent is unreal. The sweet fruitiness combined with the leather gives this a bit of a bad boy attitude. If ever I don't wear this fragrance and I'm in the company of someone who is, I get major fragrance envy because it smells so good and it's that strong that it pretty much just drowns out all other fragrances. In certain situations, you might want to watch how much you spray because it is that strong, but then in other situations, you can just have fun and get trigger happy. Like if you're going to a bar or a club, just spray this fragrance on. There's gonna be loads of people in the room, but this fragrance will stand out above most other moderately projecting fragrances that the majority of people will be wearing. As well as having a fun, playful quality, I think this would work equally as well as a more intimate date night scent or even a formal occasion scent. Just watch that trigger in the warmer weather, but whenever you wear this fragrance, you're pretty much guaranteed to be the best smelling person in the room. Finishing off with my favourite note of tobacco, which is in one of my favourite fragrances of all time, Spicebomb Extreme. Spices, tobacco, and rich vanilla. This is the winter lady killer or man killer. Let's just call it a person killer to avoid any problems. Not as loud in its projection as Ombre leather, but still pretty decent. It's a cozy, crowd-pleasing scent, ideal for autumn and winter. Get a stylish winter top on, cool scarf maybe, whack on some Spicebomb Extreme, and if your style's good, this will finish things off perfectly. Maybe you're in a ski resort, maybe you're walking around a Christmas market, maybe you're going to your office Christmas party, or taking someone you fancy out to dinner. This will work an absolute treat in all those situations. It's cozy, warming, sexy, full of attitude. You will have your cooler seasons covered with this bad boy. There it is, your essential starting collection. Obviously, this is just one person's opinion, but hopefully it gives you some ideas about what to go and smell in store, because it's always best to try before you buy. This selection, in my opinion, has you covered for every season, every situation. You will always have a 10 out of 10 option when choosing a fragrance. What would your starting collection of 7 be? Please do let me know down in the comments. And if you're like I was a decade ago and you found this video useful, please give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next handy, helpful fragrance video. Cheers. It's fresh enough to wear in the summer, but it's versatile enough to wear all year round. Oh, you little stinker. Oh, Bertie. Dude, that hums. That is really distracting. I can't do this while that fart is lingering. Can you stop farting?